Hello and welcome to our webinar. Today's topic is Create Your Own Embroidery Fonts. This webinar is designed to explain how to create your own embroidery fonts in DGML by Pulse. Make your own customized fonts. How to recognize font types, font dialog and wizard, digitize, test and set kerning table, and at the end we will do a couple of examples. Recognize font types. The first symbol we see here, and let me use my spotlight, this symbol here, which is an uppercase letter A with a red border around it and a black P that stands for Pulse stamp on it. This font is a Pulse font and contains outlines that can be used as borders. You may have realized in version 14, when you use text segments, there is a new setting in properties which allows you to add a style border or a round stitch border around existing fonts. So if you are working or using a font that is marked like this here, then you can make use of such borders. The next symbol here, which is an uppercase letter A with orange fill and a P stamped on it, this font is a Pulse font and does not contain outline borders. And by the way, these are secured fonts. They originate from Pulse and you cannot edit or modify them. Next symbol, which is the uppercase letter A and has a green border around it. That font contains outline borders and is usually not created by Pulse. The next symbol, uppercase letter A with a green fill. This font does not contain outline borders and is usually not created by Pulse. And the last symbol, the bottom here, the uppercase letter A with a gray fill. This is a classic style font. Classic style fonts have limitations in how stitches are calculated when sewing from right to left and center out, and do not use branching. These are fairly old fonts that were done before DGML was born, and that's why they have certain limitations when you use them. Font dialog. In the font dialog, which you reach in by going to menu Tools or Manage Fonts, you can choose between creating a new font or open an existing font. That's what you see here on this image. You have a list of fonts, embroidery fonts that are located in your system folder. And here you see the symbols which we had described on the slide before. So you either select one of the fonts and you open it, or, and this is a topic about our webinar today, you create a new font by clicking here on New. That will launch this window here, Font Properties page. Font Properties page has a couple of settings, like you can give in version number, the name of the author. Then this is a drop-down menu here, font type, and it offers a couple of selections here. We will focus on the first line here, normal. We will create a normal font, and looking here on this setting here, default letter space, this is the spacing between letter to the next letter. So the default is 0 because we are working with a kerning box, which we will describe later on. However, you can add additional distance by changing this number here. Next one, spacebar size. Default is 5, at least in my case, my screenshot, and that is the distance between one word to the next word. Typically, when you use your text tool and you type in a text with 2 words, you will have a space between the 2 words. So you could change this value here if you want to have that space bigger or smaller. Then we have this line here called use segments for extents. That is either the kerning box or the letter itself to be used as the extents. And here is where you decide whether you want the first one in sequence, which is usually the kerning box, or the last one in sequence to be the extents box. Then we have a setting here, version 9 compatible. I recommend you to switch this off, because this is to ensure that font that you're created is compatible with very old versions of Pulse, basically those versions that were based on the POF file format. However, the drawback is, if you use this here, you will not be able to use any of the new features and new settings that came up with newer versions of DGML by Pulse. So again, I recommend you to keep this off here. Contains outlines. This is what I mentioned earlier. In version 14 there is a new setting which you can take advantage of, adding a border around your letters. The border can be a style stitch or unstitched border, but this will only work if your font, the font that you're creating, has additional outlines. So I recommend you to switch this on here. And the last one here, right to left. I think you are aware that some of the languages like Arabian, they write their text from right to left. So if you are producing that kind of fonts, then you have to switch on this tick box here. Font dialog wizard. The wizard will guide you through all the steps. Here is a screenshot of, on the left hand side you see the selection of TrueType fonts. Basically, here is where you choose the TrueType font you're going to work with. In my case, it's an Arial. Then you see here a preview. That's how the Arial or the font look like. Once you made your selection here and you click to next, you will be having this dialog open here. This will show you all the characters that are included in the TrueType font you had selected. Usually you have fonts with more or fonts with less characters. What you do here is you select, you mark those characters you really want to work with and you want to include in your font file. You can use your control keys and shift keys, the typical Windows keyboard shortcuts, to select individual letters or a series of letters. This screenshot shows us the last dialog of the wizard, and this is where you can select how DGML will convert the TrueType font into an embroidery font. So looking at the first selection here, create embroidery segments. This one, I recommend you to switch it off. I never use this one because I am the one that will take care or control how the font will look like. If you keep this on here, DGML will automatically convert each character into an embroidery character, and that's when DGML takes care of that, but you have no control on it. So again, this one here, typically you would like to switch it off. Include artwork. This one you need to have it switched on, because this will guarantee that your letter will be imported as an artwork segment into your embroidery font file. And the last one here, create extends box. This one you should keep that on as well, because that will ensure that you will have a box around your letter, and that box will be used as your kerning box. This slide shows a screenshot of how the font file will be populated. So what DGML does is it creates a new page, and that page contains all the letters that you had selected from your TrueType font. And you can also see that DGML automatically assigns a name to it, in this case font 1. And you also can see the strange numbers here. So these are Unicode numbers. Each character has its specific Unicode number. You don't need to worry too much about this here. This is just the naming of each of the characters. It's a good idea at this stage to save your file. Right? Once you save your file, either by Control S, or you go to your menu File and then use function Save or Save As, then you will have this window here showing up. Here's where you give the name to your font file, and that font file will be saved into your system folder once you click OK. Digitize. Double-clicking on one of the characters will launch that character into a new page in DGML. And this is, for example, letter A. Double-clicking on it will launch it to a new page. And we see here on this screenshot, on this image, the first segment is my extends box, and it's there because we had clicked on the wizard in the dialog options, create extends box. If you would not have this setting here switched on, you would not have this extends box. And the second segment in my sequence view is the artwork segment of the letter itself. So we are ready for digitizing this letter. Now, the use of the extends box, you see, since we have marked that we want to have an extends box, and in the properties page, this is the selection here where we say it's in first position. That's why the extends box, which is a rectangle around the letter, is in the first position in my sequence view. And this will be the kerning box. The kerning box means that that's like a gauge that controls the position of one letter to the next one. So in my case the A, you can see here the right hand side of the box finishes right here at the corner of this diagonal bar. The next letter would start exactly aligned here. So if the next letter would be a letter A, so this side here of the box would align with this side here, and that would be the position from one A to the next A. Digitize based on artwork segments or convert art segments into embroidery segments. Basically, what that means is, what I'm trying to say here is that you can use your artwork segments and convert it into embroidery segments, like I've done here on this screenshot. You see here this satin path. This was converted from the original artwork segment. Or you can digitize with your satin tools. For example, you can digitize these columns by yourself on top of the artwork segment, basically using the artwork segment as a backdrop. At the end of the day, once you have digitized, or once you have your satin columns, you combine them to one piece. That's important because that will assure that your start and ending points will be used as a closed point connection. Make use of the contains outlines feature. We have seen this on the earlier slide, and I have recommended you to use this to switch on the setting here, contains outlines. And what you need to do once you have switched on this setting, you need to make sure that in your embroidery, in your file, in your font file, that you have an artwork segment included in your letter as well, as seen here on this screenshot. So you see we have in the first position in my sequence view is the kerning box, followed by an artwork segment of my letter, and then we have the satin stitch segment of my letter. And you can see here on this image an example of a satin border or a steel stitch border around my letter whenever I use that new feature in text segment properties. And you also can see that the border is behind the letter, the satin columns of the letter. The reason for this is because I have placed the artwork segments in front of the letter. If this artwork segment would be after the satin path, then my border would be on top of or around my letter. Select a letter symbolizing the text height in proportion to other letters. So what that means here is that you will need to select a letter as a reference for all other letters to assure that the text height works correctly once you use your embroidery font in DGML. Normally I would select the uppercase letter M as my reference letter, because the uppercase letter M is mostly the highest one, the tallest letter in my alphabet, and that depends of course on the font itself, but usually the letter M is a good choice to have that one as the reference character. Good. So let's go to the next slide here. Test and set kerning table. Here we have a couple of images showing you that each letter has its particular shape. You have straight letters, you have rounded letters, you have letters with diagonal columns, like, or in this case, letter A. Has a diagonal bar on the left, diagonal bar on the right, and of course, that will influence the distance you want to have between that letter and the next letter. So it always depends how the shape of the next letter will look like. That's when you will make your decision whether you will have that distance between those two letters closer or further apart. This is an example between the distance between letter A and V, where there is no distance has been changed. DGML is working on the kerning box. Kerning box of the letter A, as you remember, finishes right here where the corner of the A is, and the kerning box of the letter V finishes or starts right there. That's why that happens to be the distance between these two letters. And you can see here that optically it doesn't look nice. It looks too far away. So we would like the right thing to do is we would like to have the distance between those two letters closer together. And the way this is being accomplished in DGML is by using the kerning table. And you can see here we have created a kerning table with combinations of many letters. Among them also the combination between uppercase letter A and lowercase letter V. And we have set a kerning value of -4. And that will trigger the distance between those two letters to become closer together. So if you really want to go the extra mile and make an optically nice, good-looking distance between letters, then you can use these kerning tables here. Alright, let's practice and jump into DGML straight away. Let me change the application to be in DGML. Right, here we are, and we will make one example for a block type font and one example for a script type font. Let's start with the block type font. We go into Menu Tools, Manage, and we choose Fonts. That will open up this dialog here. As you can see, and I mentioned, we have all our embroidery fonts listed here, and those are the embroidery fonts that are in my system folder. We're going to create a new font, so we click here on New. Then we have the font properties page opening up. As I said, we will switch off the version 9 compatible here. We would like to work or have additional outlines, so I switch this on here. And let me see what else. Everything else looks good. Font type normal. We continue. As you can see here now, DGML created this empty font page, and it assigned the name font1 automatically to it. Now I want to populate this page here with artwork segments, and I would like to grab those artwork segments from a TrueType font. That's why I click here on this function, this tool, Add Characters from TrueType font. We'll choose our, you see here, these are all TrueType fonts that are installed in my system. And we will make the example with the RL font, where we have a view how it looks like. You can write anything here, the text. Like so. I'm happy with it. Continue. Now, Usually you will select typically all your uppercase characters, lowercase characters, numbers, and a couple of symbols. You see here, depending on the TrueType font, you can have tons and tons and tons of characters. For our little example, I will just select the uppercase letter A, B, and C. I don't want to punch all the letters here. We don't have time for that. Continue, and this is the last window in my wizard. So let me see here. Create embroidery segments. That's something I want to switch off. And the last two ones here, we want to have them active. So I want to have each letter included as an artwork segment. That's good. And I want to have a kerning box, an extends box assigned to each letter automatically. To finish, now DGML is collecting those characters and converting them into art segments. Well, this is how it looks like. You see my page font 1 is populated now with uppercase letter A, B, and C. And as I mentioned here, these strange numbers, these are Unicode numbers. You can also see that there is a kerning box around it, symbolized here in a light blue color. I hope you can see that light blue. And the letter itself has a black outline around. That's how you can display those characters. Now let's go and work on letter A. I double click on it. That will launch that letter into DGML. And there it is. We have our sequence viewer here. Let me open it up. And you can see here perfectly that's the extends box that has been automatically created by DGML around the letter. And we have the letter itself as artwork segment. Now, you see here, for example, this letter A, that's those nodes here, that's how this letter was created by the person who created this TrueType font. And sometimes you will have very good, well done TrueType fonts, sometimes you will have TrueType fonts not done very well. Whichever way, if you want to correct, edit the points or things that are not really good, you can do it straight away here in DGML. So for example, I want to get rid of these 2 points here, these anchor points, and I would like to move this one here. First of all, let me convert all of them into straight points, and then I will move this one, use my arrow keys slightly down so that I end up with equal sized columns, and I will get rid of these 2 here. This looks much better. Good. Next step is I would like to copy paste Control C and V. I end up with 2 artwork segments, and let me make this example letter A. I will convert it into satin segments. I select my artwork segment and use my slice tool, which is here, shortcut C. I use shortcut. My knife appears, so let's cut here, here, and let's cut here. Alright, and then we will break up with Control K, and I end up with my individual broken up segments. So let me move these 2 anchor points. I like to have letters like A everywhere where you have this kind of situation. I call this stitch fold here. I like to have them flowing into each other. For example, these 2 go a little bit up there, and this one here, I'll place it like here, and this one like so. Perfect. You see here these little parts, they are like flowing nicely into each other. And I'll take this bar and I press letter D to add angle lines, press an angle line here, press an angle line here, and maybe one here in the middle, and then generate. Perfect. And I'll select this segment here. Again, I press D on my keyboard, press an angle line here, press one here. Oops. Let's zoom in here, see if we really want to work properly, and let's also place one here. And we generate. How does this look like? Looks good. And then the horizontal bar, D, one here, then one here. Let's move it to the outsides. Place one here, move it to the outsides. Generate. Good. Now we have our individual setting paths. I select all of them and I will combine. Control L. So we end up with one setting path, and we have a start point here and an end point. Place the endpoints right here. It doesn't really matter where the endpoint is. It only matters in case you use a setting in the text segments called, you remember there is something called use closest point connection, which will automatically connect the closest distance from one letter to the other. You use that setting, but there is another one called as digitized. So if you would choose as digitized, then DGML would place or have the start and end points of letters, each letter, exactly the way how they were digitized. Alright, let's Control S. I will save. Control S. Doing Control S. Now I can close that page, and since I saved my letter, that letter will be updated here, refreshed, and it's a digitized letter, as you can see here. And by the way, here's a couple of selections in view. You see here we have small icons, medium icons. You can have your letters displayed larger, and something else like no stitches or stitches. You see here, we can see our the view is symbolizing stitches a little bit better. So it's up to you what you want to have here. Let me get back to no stitches. Alright, let's go ahead and we will see a file, save or save as. So once you say save for the first time, then you will be requested to enter a name to your font. Let's give a name, my block font. That's the name, and it will be saved into my system folder. Alright, so let's continue with the letter B. We have our letter B launched as a new page, DGML, and I will, this example, just for the fun out of it, I will use the B, the outlines, the artwork segment as a backdrop, and I will use my punching tools to digitize it. So I like to use this tool here called the column tool. I love this. It's like old school, old-fashioned, and I will digitize starting from here and then work my way around over there. That's what I'm going to do. So let me start like so, and let's zoom in. So I'm scrolling with the wheel of my mouse, and you see here now I have like a curvy shape to do, and with the column tool, in order to change from a line to curve or to arc, I press enter on the keyboard. So we place 2 points there, 2 points there, and that's how I create a perfect arc. So let's continue like that, using my punching tools here. Remember, you don't need to do that. You could convert this letter, but some letters are quite complex and you would like to digitize them, then you could use this column tool as I'm using it. So again, here you see I'm here with my arc, and I need to do straight lines. Now I press enter again, and let's use 1 and 2, and here we have our corner. 1, 2, and then let's go down. So now a little bit. Use my shift key to constrain. So we're working our way nicely around this letter D. Here I press enter again to get into my arc mode, like so. And now we are coming to a little bit of a complex shape. Right here, you see here it's a little awkward because it's changing not in an embroidery friendly way. So let me grow a little bit from here to here until right here. And I don't care about this right now. Press enter for straight line, and we finish our letter B right there. Right click. Okay. So you see here, this area, I want to work on it. I don't like it how it looks like, so let's move this part a little bit down, and let me change this into smooth. Okay, so I'm happy with it. Good. G and show stitches. So once you're satisfied with it, see now we have our satin stitch segment, start and end point. I'm happy with that. We have our kerning box, we have our artwork segment for the letter, and we have our satin path. Good. Control S, save it, and see will be refreshed there. This stage again, I press Control S, and we override the existing font. Yes. Good. Let's make our last one, letter C. I'll do this one real quick. Control copy paste, select this one and convert it to satin. Place a couple of angle lines, like so, and G generate. Alright, satin path, artwork. Good. Control S. Right, let's Control S, save it, and replace yes. Okay, let's make a test now. I'll start a new page, and I will use my text tool. Let's go and search for my font, my block font. There it is, you see that? My block font. And we will choose a reasonable size here, like 12 millimeters. A, B, C, A. And we will place our letters there. Perfect. Let me show you the border around, new feature in version 14. So in order to use that, I will make my letter a little bit bigger, 1 inch. so, and double click to get into the properties. So the setting I was talking about is here in fill and border, and it's called border and fill. Alright, outline type right now set default. I will change this to steel and fill, and I would like to change the color. You see here, if you choose automatic, it will automatically change to the next higher needle, so that would be red here. But if you say no, I want to change to needle number 4, then you say, you choose here manual, and then you choose 4 here, and you click on apply, and sure enough, make it 3D. You can see that the border is behind. I have a nice steel border, and it's behind the letter, the fill. Alright, was a good example. Now let me show you the kerning tables right here with my block text. You see, you will have letters like B is rounded on the right hand side, and the C is rounded here. So I would like to have a closer distance between those two. Now, in order to accomplish that, I'll go to my font, and there is a function here called kernings that will open up the font kernings table, and here you have rows, character, so we want to work on my uppercase B, and we want to have the next one C, closer distance, so I will use a negative value, -2. Let's check that. I need to save it, Control S, in order to have this active. And then let's check that here on my text. And this is one of the nice things, many nice things in version 14 is, this kind of tests. I don't need to, in older versions, you had to close DGML and then restart it. In version 14, you don't need to do that. You can straight away check things here. I will change my height ever so slightly to changing that number you see here perfectly. This would be a very nice distance. And you have so many letter combinations, like you may want to do the same here between C and A. Let's do that as a last demonstration. So you see, we want to work on between these letter pairs, uppercase C and uppercase. There was a B, C and A, probably -2. Control S, C and A. So let's change this again here. Perfect. I think that looks great. Okay, this concludes the example on my block font. Let's jump straight into the creation of a script font. So let me close this page, and let's close this one. We go into Menu Tools, Manage Fonts. Create a new one, and again switch off the compatible. Let's use Contains Outlines, and let's populate my new font file with, we said we're going to use a handwriting letter script type of font, which is I will use this one here. I will see the handwriting italic. Italic means that it's slightly inclinated. Looks good. continue here. And for the handwriting, in order to show you how I work on the swooshes here, you know, the tails of the letters, lowercase letters, they swing into each other. All right, so this A, the swoosh of the A will end inside the B, and so on and so forth. So let me do these 3 characters here. Go to next. Switch off the create embroidery segments. Good, here we are with our lowercase letter A, B, and C. Let's double click on the A. Well, let me first save my font, Control S. Let's call this one my font, my script font. Double click on the letter A. Here again, artwork. The extends box around, not really around my letter, but in my letter, in the first position in my sequence, then the letter itself as artwork segment. And yeah, let me explain the extends box on script letters. The right hand side of my extends box, I would like to position that one right here. You see where the swoosh, this corner of the swoosh is? Because that will enter into my next letter. And the left hand side of my extends box here, I would like to have that one positioned. And you see here, that's why the crosshair is so useful. My cursor position, I would like to position that right here, because imagine if I would have my letter A followed by another letter A, the position of the left hand side of the A would be right here, so it's flowing nicely into each other. Alright, and you see it's on that level here. Perfect. Next step is I will convert this letter A into embroidery, and well, this area here, I will work on this a little bit here using my node editor. So let's imagine this goes a little bit like that. Move it like in there, like so. Okay, I think that will do the trick. Control copy and paste, and now I'm ready to slice this part and this part. Control K, and we will convert D, add angle lines, angle line here, angle line there, and in between I'll place my other angle lines like so. So I'm good here. Then I'll select this piece and I'll place my angle lines for that part as well. We're done here. At the end I will select these 2 satin pot segments and combine them. And let's put the start point of letter A, place it like here, and the end point like there. Perfect, I'm happy. Control S, and then I can close this window here. Let's work on letter B. Letter B, let's see, we would like to turn the angle here. I will slice it here in order to make 2 pieces of satin columns there. Copy and paste. Work on this one. I'll slice this piece. Control K. to break it apart and zoom in big here. Add my angle lines. So let's start with a small one here, like so. Zoom out a little bit. And like so. And now my last piece there. I'll add an angle line here. Good. Select these two setting parts and combine them. Just place the entry point here and the exit point there. And of course I'll need to accommodate my extends box again. So what we'll do here, place this right there in the corner. And the other one here, that one will need to be positioned right there. Perfect. Control S, sorry, for saving. And there we are, letter B. Last one is a letter C. Copy and paste. This one is really easy. Add my diagonal lines. Place a couple of them within my segment. Generate. Last but not least, accommodate the kerning box like so. Okay, let's check. Start an entry point. Place the entry point like here, and the exit point there. Control S, and let's save my font file. Control S here as well. My script font. Do you want to overwrite, replace it? Yes. Let's make a test. Choose my text tool. Search for my script font. And let's write something silly like this. And let's use a smaller height. There you go. We have our letters. Let's make this in a slow redraw. Perfectly flowing into each other. Good. This concludes our little demonstration on how to create embroidery fonts. I hope you have seen a couple of things you haven't been aware before, and that you're well prepared to start creating your own fonts. Thank you, and see you next time.